The Supreme Court, in response to the writ petitions filed against the dissolution of the House of Representatives, has issued a mandamus today, paving way for the appointment of Nepali Congress President Sher Deuba as the Prime Minister. Now, joining us to talk more about the Supreme Court's verdict is constitutional expert Dr. Bipin Adhikari. Dr. Adhikari, welcome to Kantipur News. It's good to have you back on our news bulletin. What's your first reaction about the Supreme Court's verdict?
I think it was expected. The decision of the court is exactly what was the issue, and many people thought the court would respond this way. So it's not a surprise.
How equipped or do you think is the next government or the opposition alliance is to lead the government now?
It will be very difficult because the Prime Minister, although the claim of the leader of opposition has been accepted by the Supreme Court because he had enough grounds, to be appointed by the President, but then it will be very difficult for the new Prime Minister to sustain in the House because he does not have a strong support base, and most of the people supporting his candidacy are from the splinter groups of the major parties. So obviously they would have very hard times in the days ahead.
Talking about the splinter groups, Dr. Adhikari, only yesterday the Nepal faction of CPN-UML signed an agreement with the leadership faction as well. How do you think this is going to impact in the upcoming dynamics?
Obviously it will have a great impact because there is an effort on the part of the outgoing Prime Minister to rebuild his party and also manage with the internal opposition in the party, and many people have already joined his mainstream. So it is possible that these people will not be helpful to the new Prime Minister when there is a vote of confidence. And so the Supreme Court has given the Prime Minister an opportunity to establish his case, but then it's a very difficult course ahead.
Dr. Adhikari, where does this verdict by Supreme Court put the outgoing Prime Minister, especially his political career?
I think in a way it is very helpful because he was struggling within his party, and it is now the court has given him time to reorganize on the basis of his faith and declared objective of the organization. That is also, he will be relieved from his present duty and under no compulsion to, reconcile with the people who are creating problem for him. So that will give him enough, space in the days ahead to reorganize and even prepare for the election if it is, if it is declared someday. But then immediately, obviously he will lose some of the people who were aligned to him because of his power, and that will be something like a testing time for him.
Now let's talk about the President. What are the repercussions of this verdict on the institution?
I think the President might feel a little awkward because of the decision of the Supreme Court, but then the Supreme Court's, the language used in the verdict is very calculated, and there is nothing in it which, personally obliges the President of Nepal for, everything that happened during the constitution, during the government formation process. So it has not, for example, touched on the issue of malified exercise of power or something which is very close to it. So things like this happen, and for a president who has most of the time to act on the advice of the Prime Minister, such political errors are not uncommon. And I don't think she will have to take the personal, the whole, verdict as a personal challenge to him.
Now, one of the decisions given by the Supreme Court, it prohibits parties from disciplining their lawmakers should they decide to cross the floor. What do you think of it?
I think the Supreme Court was only recognizing what was, submitted by the leader of the opposition to the president to claim his candidacy as a prime minister of the country. But then it does not replace the existing rule of law arrangement as far as, defection or even the rules of whipping are concerned. So they will have their role in the future when this vote of confidence proposed by Mr. Deuba would be considered by the House. So he will have to deal with it, and then it is possible that he might lose the battle there.
You think it's possible that he might lose?
Yeah, this is very possible because, as I told you, his support base is basically on the, it's based on the vote of splinter groups, and that enough makes, the situation of the Prime Minister very vulnerable.
Where do you see, especially the Nepal faction of the ruling party, heading to, inclining towards?
I think they are, as far as Mr. Nepal is concerned, he has, projected a very tough, positioning. But then the people who are following him, they don't seem to be as committed as he claims. So in the next 30 days, anything can happen. So these people, they are, the floating boats, and they could go either way.
Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Adhikari. That was constitutional expert Bipin Adhikari joining us to talk about the verdict that the Supreme Court has issued today, reinstating the lower house and also paving way for the appointment of Nepali Congress President Sher Deuba as the next Prime Minister.